Greetings. Before I get started, I want to talk about this picture behind me. Believe it or not, the picture is straight. The picture above it is straight. It's my monitor that's not straight. I think it's been this way all along. I've always been thinking it was the camera's fault, but it's actually the monitor, and I don't know how to straighten it out. I spent 10 minutes trying, but it's just not going to happen. So, if you've ever wondered about it, that's the thing. It's not my fault. And with that said, let's talk about my topic of the day. You know, I started making websites for other people back in 2005 or 2006. I think it was more 2006. And I've done a fair share of websites over the years, but one of the problems that I have is that I am not a good designer. In other words, I am not an artist of that type. I write a lot. I can do that kind of thing. I can tell stories. I can stand in front of a bunch of people and talk to them. But I don't design well. I don't do pretty. If someone told me, I say, okay, what color do you want your website to be? And they say blue. Well, I'll find them a blue. And it might have a pattern. It might not. I will share with them, different types of colors. But in general, that's about it. You want to put pictures on it? I can do that. But you need to tell me what you want, because I just don't have that kind of vision. And it worked well for years until people got to this thing about wanting responsive websites and these pretty websites and these website designs where the more you scroll down, things just pop up instead of people needing to click on things at the top. And yes, you know what? It looks nice. It's nice and pretty. The last person who I built a website for, local lawyer, and you know what? I made this website for her. I optimized the website for her, and it was functional. Now, it was, pretty standard stuff, had 5 pages, and, just easy. And she got to pick out the colors, and there you go. She would occasionally want me to rewrite some of the copy, easy peasy, whatever. Then she talked to someone who was more of a press person, public relations, whatever that is, promotion. And this lady said, I can make your website look a lot better. Okay. So she goes to this other lady. They set all this stuff up. It's a nice looking website. I'm not going to lie. It's really pretty. I never could have done that. But you know what happened? In the act of making it pretty, they de-optimized everything that I did for it. And what do I mean by that? A lot of people, when they get websites, they don't go to someone who will help optimize it, which means SEO, search engine optimization. There are major mistakes that I see on a lot of pretty websites. I see it on some junky ones as well. I'm not going to lie. But it doesn't help them on a search engine. Okay, so you have a website. If you're going to just give everybody business cards or have it on your email, your letter, you're going to send things out, maybe even your email like I do. Okay, fine. If that's all you want. But if you're really hoping that someone is going to go to Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever and search for someone who does what you do, you're going to have a heck of a time to be found. It's just not really going to work. Why isn't it going to work? Because a lot of people do things like, there are these things that are called meta tags. And meta tags basically are ways to tell the search engines, okay, this is what this is. So you get to have like title, which always is a top. Title is pretty much set. For instance, I'm going to use my business website, which is TT Mitchell Consulting Incorporated, as my good example. I'll talk about myself for a bit. So my title, TT Mitchell Consulting Incorporated. That's the title. So anyone goes to the website, it's up there at the top. Most people don't notice that, but there it is. Then you have a description. The description is where you write the types of things that you do. So mine says I'm a revenue cycle consulting company who works for hospitals to help them increase their revenue and increase their cash. Bam. There it is. A lot of folks don't really see that part either. But what you will see is meta keywords. And this is where you really have an opportunity to get your website seen or understood by search engines. So mine has all these different terminologies that are related to healthcare, to leadership, and to diversity. And that's what I've done with everybody's website that I ever created. I said to them, okay, I know what you do because I talk to them a lot. I put those in there. And then I would recommend saying, you know what, you need some articles on here, or you need some websites that will prove to the search engines that's what you do, because that's how you get a boost out of it. Well, if you don't decide to have a blog or articles, then at least having some keywords gives you an opportunity to compete with other people who do what you do, whether it's local or state or nationwide. So I went back to take a look, like I said, at the last person who I had as a web client, because I don't think she's going to need me anymore based on this pretty site that they did. And all that stuff was taken out, totally taken out. So if she goes to look up her site in Google, if she puts in the name, yeah, it's going to be found. But if she goes looking for the type of law that she does, not going to show up anywhere, because there's nothing on the website that indicates it, except maybe the bio page, but it's contained within the bio page. There's nothing on the main page that says what this person does for a living. What does this business do for a living? I see that all the time. There's a young lady who interviewed me, and she has a nice looking website. So I went to see what hers was, and she doesn't have any keywords on there. She has a nice title, you know, the name of her title, but when it comes to a description, she begins with, you know, the business name. And there are certain characters that once you put a character in, you basically have stopped it. This is how it used to be. It's still this way. So if you put your business name first, and then you put like an ampersand, or you put a comma, or you put a period or somewhere, it stops. The bots say, okay, that's it. So anything else you say after you do something like that, you're just done. And that's just bad SEO. I had a friend of mine help me put in some CSS as far as my menus go. I had a real old menu. A friend of mine created it for me back in 2002, 2003, I believe. And it's just really outdated. It had this script that really slowed everything down. I didn't know how to use it because I hadn't created it. He had lost his software. He didn't know how to make any changes to it either. So I asked a friend of mine to use CSS to create my menu, because even though I know CSS, I hadn't kept up with it. And so this was just something I just couldn't figure out how to do it, how I wanted to do it. So he set it up for me, and then he told me how he did it so that I could create all the other columns that I wanted, and it works great. And because of that, GT Metrics, which is a website that you can go to and it'll tell you, you know, if your site is like ranked really well as far as speed and accuracy or whatever, or if you have areas that need some help. Mine came in at 99 out of 100. You know what? I ain't mad at that. But I went to check out his site, and he's a web designer. I mean, this is what he does. He can do pretty websites. He knows all this beautiful stuff and whatever. But once again, even on his site, he has a description, but he begins with his business name, and then he has a comma right after it. It's like, dude, and I may tell him about this one day, but once you put that in there, nothing else matters. And then he didn't put in keywords. So, you know, pretty websites are fine. A lot of people look at it and say, wow, that's wonderful. But it's better to have a functioning website. And that's just what I think you do business. Now, how do I know my website functions? I am a revenue cycle consultant, but I specialize in what's called Charge Master. Two separate words, although some places put it as just one full word. So if you decide you want to check me out, go to Google and put in Charge Master Consulting. Or go to DuckDuckGo and put it in. Because you know what? DuckDuckGo has me at number 1. Google has me at number 3 for that term. And you know what? I have been in the top 5 for 16 years. People come and go. And on the Charge Master thing, one of those is actually like an employment firm. So they're not competing with me. The other one is interesting because they're a new addition. I hadn't even seen them before because I checked it out before I decided to do the video. And they have an article, and it's a very short article, but they work with physicians groups. So in other words, because I work with hospitals, I'm #1 in the nation for working with hospitals. There's another site that ranks in the top 5 on some of these things, and they have a product. So they don't actually provide a service, but they have a product that can go in and just check codes. What I do is a lot more than just check codes. So there's that. And then I say that I'm a healthcare finance revenue cycle consultant. And if you go put that in, I show up at number 15. Yeah, I'm not on the first page, but you know what? Once again, I'm competing with some job sites, and I'm competing with some major league firms, some really big firms. It's just me. So the fact that I'm number 15 for that, I'm not mad. Not mad at all. So I've mentioned the meta description. I've mentioned the keywords. But now we have to get to the content. And I think that one of the strong suits that I have with my site is that I have the blog where I have written tons of articles on ChargeMaster, revenue cycle, medical billing. I've got a whole bunch of them. I've got actual articles on the website that address ChargeMaster and revenue cycle. So I have, over all these years, written content that boosts that up. Now, I mainly talk about leadership and diversity on that blog, but the healthcare articles have matched up very well with the keywords that I have. But it's not just that. The website I built before the last website I built was for my accountant. I built her website, I manage her website, and I write her articles for her blog because I suggested that to her. And it's just her and 2 other people in her accounting firm. And she is ranked as the highest accounting firm in her area. #1. She's #1. There's larger firms. But you know what? A lot of them don't have keywords in it. They don't have a whole bunch of content. But she does. Because I write at least 1 article every month. Sometimes 2. If I get really, really, constructive or whatever, sometimes 3. But I make sure that she has this content that keeps coming out. And we've now gotten to a point where she's actually generating spam. Which sounds really stupid, but you know what? If you start generating spam, you're probably doing well. I don't mean just like 1 every 3 months. I mean, she's getting, 2 or 3 spam comments every single day now. I'm irked by that in a little bit, but I'm also kind of proud because my website gets tons of spam every single day. It's just how life is. So I ask you the question, do you want a good-looking website or do you want a functional website? A good-looking website can be functional if you have all that other information put in there so that it can also be functional. If you don't have that, pretty ain't gonna do you no good. At least if you're hoping the search engine is gonna help you. That's my thing for today. Let me know your thoughts. If you want to share your website, do it. Actually, you really can't because that's right. YouTube, if you put a link in, I think that it blocks it. So, but let me know your thoughts on pretty versus functional websites. My name is Mitch Mitchell. You like junk like this? Like the video. Think about subscribing. Please subscribe. That's my story. Y'all take care.